Alright, this is SSL Family Dad with Simple Sustainable Living, and today we're refreshing the indoor garden. Alright, so the indoor garden, what do we have here? We have the little horse trough garden that we put together. If you haven't checked that video out, I'll link to that up in the upper right hand corner there. We've got our Unit Farm LED light here providing the core of the light for the garden, as well as we have these supplemental DIY LED strips that I put on each side. These are just providing from some kind of supplemental light there on each side. This one has the actual LED grow strips in it, as well as some of the 6500 Kelvin LED strips. So those are DIY LED lights. I'll put a link again. I did a video on those as well. They were pretty good. They're providing more supplemental light to the garden, kind of just getting things in from the sides. You can see from the kale here, these branches actually were covered by the pepper plants. That's why they're yellowed there on the edges. But you can see from this kale plant that it's growing up fairly straight. It's not really leaning too much towards one side or the other. I have kind of torn everything out here. We're going to start over. The pepper plant wasn't doing that good. That variety I'm not real happy with. I also didn't do a real good job of watering this thing throughout the summer because I was focused on other things. The Swiss chard that we had planted in here, it was growing really well, but we just don't use Swiss chard very much, so we've cut that all back and let that die off as well. I've got a bunch of food scraps in here for the worms, eggshells, apple cores, some Swiss chard leaves, some lettuce, banana peels, other things in here, and we're gonna cover this all up and make a nice layer here of organic material for our worms to take care of. This indoor garden is it's designed as to be two things. It's a way for us to grow some kind of supplemental food for salads and things like that throughout the winter time, but it also is a worm composter. So what we have here, dig in here and find some worms. We actually have a lot of red wigglers in here, just loaded with red wigglers, and they are digging through here, breaking down the straw that we had put in. Some earthworms in here too, came from our native soil probably. They're having a good time, and these guys are just coming through here and breaking all this organic material down. So once we bury things like this will break down enough for them to start munching on it. The dead roots and things like that, you'll see them usually all around in here. So there's one right there. And so these guys are breaking all this soil down for us. So this is acting, and again, it's kind of 2 in 1. I don't need to do a worm bin separately and then take the worm castings out and separate them out and all that kind of stuff and then use them as fertilizer. So let's get this thing cleaned up a little bit, and we'll plant some new stuff in here. Alright, so I want to make a nice layer of organic material here. So I have some compost right out of our compost pile out in the back. Stuff's been out there throughout the year here. I'm going to take some of these lower leaves off of our kale. So this compost consists of food scraps and rabbit and chicken manures and beddings, hay and straw, all kinds of different things from around the farm here. And so that'll give us a nice healthy layer towards the top here. The worms can eat it all up. And I also have some more sandy material here. This is our native soil, and it's not good growing soil, that's for sure, but it will kind of cap off the worm layer, and it will allow water to drain through really well, and the plant's roots and stuff like that, they'll go down into the healthier, more nutrient rich layers. But this just keeps the top dry and keeps the flies and bugs off of everything. When I feed the worms, traditionally what I will do is just come down with my homestead iron and dig a hole real quick and dump in my scraps and then bury it over. Coffee grounds and things like that, I'll just come down with the coffee grounds and we'll just throw them right on top. Anything that's going to attract fruit flies or anything like banana peels and stuff, I'll go ahead and cover up with this top layer here. And so as this sandy soil, this soil gets worked in with everything else, you end up with a really good mineral rich, nitrogen rich, you know, good microsystem here of nutrients. So we have everything that the plants need to grow really well. So now I just have to decide what to plant in here. What should I try to grow inside? Well, how about potatoes? We could give potatoes a try. I've never grown potatoes inside. Now the only problem with the planting with in a worm bin is that the worms, they like to eat things. I'm hoping that we've got enough other things for them to munch on in here that they're not going to all attack anything I try to plant, but we may have to plant things in separate pots and then transplant them in here. But let's try a potato. Let's see if I cut this here. We'll do a half. And I mean, the Martian did it, right? So why can't we plant two of them? Let's do one of them right here. Let's go down a little bit deeper with that. There we go. Okay. And then let's do one up front here. Let's see what we can do here. I like things that we can kind of grow and eat off of. Peppers, I'm not going to do those again. They're take too long. Peas, they get a little out of control with vining and things like that. If we try some root vegetables, some carrots, we could try those. Some white onions, those would grow pretty good in here, I bet. I've never grown okra. This is a little too big, I think, to grow inside. Garden beans, let's try these. And how about some radishes, another root crop? Let's give this all a try here. We'll put a little bit of each in here. Carrots over here. Kind of plant it like a traditional garden. All right, so we've got our potatoes planted here in the middle, and so that leaves us with a little bit of space here to maybe we'll throw in a row right here of these onions. Try to space things out so that you time the growing. So the taller plants, they're gonna shade things out. But if you got some quick growing stuff that can get up underneath before the bigger plants get big, then you can maximize their space here. So I know this kale plant is going to get pretty big. These will get pretty tall, so I'll utilize this space around here. These are a 40-day harvest, so there's a pretty short grow on these. Kind of plant the perimeter with make use of them hanging over the sides a little bit if they need to. We'll even put one in between our potatoes, just for fun. So another feature of this little garden bed is that it does have if you remember when I put this together, if you check that video out, there's a hole under the bottom of this in the back corner, and I can slide this tray underneath here. That will catch any excess water. So if I overwater, we get some runoff that comes through here. There's a really thick layer of straw and sand at the bottom of this, so it allows a little drainage. So that will catch that, and that's basically compost tea. You could use this as a kind of a concentrated compost tea to spray on as a foliar spray in the summertime. So this also has a third purpose, I guess, in producing that compost tea. So as these worms continue to work that soil and break those nutrients down, they become soluble and they'll be able to come right through into our tray, and just another use here of the indoor worm bin. So now we have a nice little planted indoor garden. It's just the 1st of November here in Michigan, and this will grow throughout, you know, all the way into springtime. At springtime, I'll go ahead and repurpose all these lights for starting seeds and things like that down here, and we'll refresh this garden for the summertime. A lot of times also what I'll do is I'll overwinter things, take nice mature pepper plants or something like that from outside, bring them in and plant them. We had an early frost that got everything this year. I didn't have a chance to do that, so we'll start fresh. The nice thing about the indoor garden is that it gives you some fresh vegetables, some fresh produce throughout the winter time when you're not going to find that in your northern states. A lot of cut and come again kind of crops like kale, you can come down and pull a leaf off, a couple leaves off, throw them in smoothies or salads or whatever. I don't know, what do you guys think? You think the worms are going to let us grow? Or are they going to eat all our seeds? I've experimented with this in the past, and a lot of times the worms will get in and get the seeds, but if that's the case, I will plant this stuff out in some separate pots, and then we'll transplant it in here once it's a little more mature. So I will take you guys along for the results. Once everything starts growing here, we'll show you how well things are working, and we'll see how the indoor garden does this year. Altogether, the lights here that I have, we're looking at about 175 to 200 watts. Which is pretty low as far as the monthly cost. I think that's under $7 a month, something like that, $6 a month. So it is a little bit of cost around the power down here, but it's not too bad. So as always, guys, hit that subscribe button if you want to follow along with this project as well as many others that we have going around the farm. You can also hit that little bell next to the subscribe button. That allows you to get notifications each time we upload a new video. Hit that thumbs up, guys. That always makes a big difference for us. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.